Hey everyone, I've been getting a lot of questions about how to quickly make a graph for um, your experiment log, which of course is now due on the 21st. And with that in mind, I thought I'd make this video. I've been sort of promising it and feeling bad that I hadn't gotten it to you yet, so I think this is probably the best time to do it. What I have here in front of us is the slide that was part of our slideshow on data collection and observations. So hopefully this looks familiar. If you'll recall, our independent variable in our sample experiment was the amount of fertilizer that we added to some plants. And then the dependent variable, what we were measuring, was the number of flowers observed to plants that had different amounts added. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how I would use Google Sheets with this data. The main thing I want to point out here is that mainly what I'm looking at is this last week, because this is showing us the kind of the end result of 4 weeks having used that fertilizer. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to go to Google Sheets, which you can go to by going to sheets.google.com. If you're in the habit of going to Docs, you can also go that way. You can go to docs.google.com and then just click here, and then Sheets is one of the options. You can also get to it from Drive if you want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a blank spreadsheet. Just click on that plus and notice that now I have, it's formatted very similarly to other Google applications that you've used before. So you have, titles across the top, a lot of icons here. Spreadsheet, if you've never used one before, is generally used to make calculations kind of speedy. Um, it's kind of like a gigantic calculator, except that the way all of these different boxes allow you to store a bunch of information that you may use in different ways. So making a chart is one of the good things that it can do. You'll notice that across the top we have letters. So these are all of the column names, and they're always named after a letter. And then the rows are always numbers. So this would be cell, they call them cells, cell A1. And then this is cell B1 and C1 and D1 and so on. Now, for what we want to do today, it really doesn't matter where we start. I mean, typically you'd start at A1, but it's not really important. I could start down here, and I could do wherever I wanted to. But we're going to start up here just for simplicity's sake. And you can give it a title, so you can put my science fair data up here or whatever, just so you can find it later. And then you want to look at your data. Now, when you're making I'm going to make a bar graph because again, that's the most common kind of graph that most of us will be making with the experiment data that we have. If you are one of those that has an experiment that you're doing over time, or if you have like a survey you're doing where you're going to make a pie chart, that's the procedure is similar, but it's not identical. So go ahead and watch this, and then you can let me know if you want me to walk you through how to do other types. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my data here. And again, I'm looking at this and notice that I have my independent variable on the side here and my dependent variable across the top. So this is how your data table should be formatted. But when you put it in Google Sheets, you have to change it. Mainly because whatever goes across the top is what actually goes across the bottom of the graph. So my independent variable is actually going to go across the top of my data in my spreadsheet. So I'm going to type control 0 milliliters, just so that people know what I mean by control. Then I had my 5 milliliter plant, my 10 milliliter plant, my 15 milliliter plant. All right, and over here, I'm going to put my independent variable, or my dependent variable, which was the number of flowers. Okay, so let's just go check the data. My control had 1, 5 milliliters had 2, 10 milliliters had 3, and 15 had 0. So I'm going to put those numbers in here. 1, 2, 2, 3, and 0. Okay, so these all match what was here on week 4. Control had 1, 5 milliliters had 2, 10 had 3, 15 had 0, and so on. Okay, so this is really, it doesn't look like much, but this is all I really need. So what I'm going to do, I'm clicking on A1 here, and I'm just sort of dragging my mouse with the button pressed down. And what that does is it highlights cells in blue. And then I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to click on Chart. Okay, now you'll notice there's also that icon over here. It looks like a bar graph, which is what we want. Either one would be fine, but I'm going to go this way just because it's right there in front of us. And what it'll do is it'll just automatically use what I put in here to create a bar graph. And I could be more or less done here if I'm happy with the way this looks. Now, you'll also notice that over here, a panel popped up that said Chart Editor. And this does give us lots and lots of options for ways that we can change the chart around. We could change what type of chart it is, mess with colors and all that stuff. So I'll show you a few of those things. Most of what's under the Setup tab here is not going to be that useful to you. Customize might be a little more fun just because it's where you change colors and fonts and things like that. One thing I do want to show you though is that if for whatever reason you close this out and then you want to find it again, what you have to do is click on your graph and then you can click on this 3-dot menu here and then click on Edit Chart. All right. So once you've done that, notice that we have a title here at the top. This is our vertical menu. This is our vertical axis. This is our horizontal axis. And we have a title, then we have data labels. And here we have data labels, but no title. So we probably want to fix that. And then this number of flowers, it pulled from here, but that's not really a good title for the chart. Like I wouldn't want to just print it like this. So I'm going to go to customize. And the first thing I'm going to be worried about, and I mean, chart style is really just like, what does the background look like in that? So maybe I want to give it a different style just so it stands out a little bit from the rest of my package. There's also the rest of my report. I could also change, like the outline of it here. The overall font theme I can change also, like say I wanted to be a little more formal, like using something with serifs like Georgia. Notice that changes all of the fonts for me. I think I'm going to go ahead and just stick with Arial though. All right, so once I've done that, I want to go down to chart and axis titles. And you are welcome to play with some of these other features if you want. But really what I want to make sure that you see is this one here. So this is a drop-down menu and it has some options. You have the chart title, the chart subtitle, and that's just a smaller title that goes under the title. The horizontal axis title is something that would appear below the data labels here. And the vertical axis title is this one that says number of flowers. So I'm going to play with these just a little bit to show you what I would do. So I'm going to start with the chart title to start with. And instead of putting number of flowers, I'm going to put total flowers produced after 4 weeks. Okay, so that's a much more descriptive title for a graph because then when somebody looks at that, they know exactly what they're looking at. Now, I don't like this particular color, so maybe I'm going to change it to something a little darker. And maybe I would center it just because I think that looks a little nicer. Maybe I want to bold it. Maybe I want to make it italicized. Those are all stylistic things that you can choose for yourself. I can also change just the font of that and leave the rest the way they are. Those are all options that you're welcome to take advantage of. Okay, so once I have that in place, now I'm not going to really add a subtitle, but you can. It just makes another, smaller title underneath there. But I'm going to go to my vertical axis title right now where it says number of flowers, and notice that's right here. And that looks fine to me, but I think I want to make it just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go to a 14-point font so that's a little bit easier to read. All right, now I actually do want a horizontal axis title because while these data labels are fine, they don't really tell me milliliters of what. So I'm going to put amount, oops, if I learn how to spell, the amount of fertilizer added. And notice that now appears down here. So now anybody looking at my graph here would know that when it says 0 milliliters, it means that's the amount of fertilizer. And on the side here, this is the number of flowers produced. Okay. Once again, here too, I might want to make this a little bit bigger so that it matches. Maybe I want to bold it. Those are all things that, again, optional, completely up to you. The other change I might want to make, it's going to automatically make it blue because reasons, I don't know. So if you don't like blue or you just want to change something about it, you can go here and you can always change the series to something else. No, that's all fine. I'm not going to get into any of that, but you're welcome to play around with it. You can also add things like data labels. This isn't really necessary because these numbers are all pretty simple. It's pretty obvious. This is 3 and this is 2 and this is 1. But, if you have, if it looks a little vague to you and you want to click this, all it does is put the actual value into the bar so that people can just look at the bar and go, oh, that was 3 flowers. So that's other things that you can play with. Again, lots of formatting here. You can change text. You can do whatever. A legend really isn't probably necessary for this one, but there's also these features that you can play with the horizontal axis itself. This is talking about these labels here. So this is looking at the numbers that make up this this side. Well, actually, I take that back. That's the horizontal. Horizontal is talking about this one. Vertical would obviously be these. So that's where you go to change that formatting. Okay, so again, all of that changing around is kind of optional, but it's there if you want to play with it. Once you're done though, and you get it to where you want it, it's time to go ahead and put it into your document. So all you're going to do is you're going to click on it so that you get these bars, these little handles showing up, and you're going to you can right click and hit control. Well, hold on. Click on it. You can hit edit and you can copy, or you can hit control C, whichever one you want. And then you're going to go to this is my experiment log, right? So I'm going to come down here to the graph and I'm going to hit control V to paste it. And it's going to give me this option. It says, do you want to link it to your spreadsheet or do you want to paste it unlinked? All that means is that if I leave it linked to the spreadsheet and then go back and change the spreadsheet, it will automatically change it in my document too, which is handy if you're dealing with data that you're changing a lot. But in this case, I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to paste it unlinked because I just want it to look the way it looks. And notice that it comes over exactly the same way as it appeared in here. Okay, so the fonts are the same, the colors are the same, all of that. So that's it. Then you're done. And you can move on from there. Okay? If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me as always. And again, if you have the kind of experiment where bar graph does not really make sense, or you're just not sure, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm happy to sit with you and walk you through what you need to do. Have a great day. Bye.